Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to Bonolo Speaks live sessions. We do this every Monday to look at really issues that affect us. And on Thursdays, we do sessions where we bring some inspiration. Let me welcome my guest today. I'm joined by Queen Mosarwe, News Unwrapped presenter on Duma FM. Hi, Queen. Hi, Queen.
Hi, Bonola. How are you?
I'm good.
Hi, Bonola. How are you?
I'm good, Queen. I can hear you clearly. Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you so much. Let me welcome you to Motshegwa, Head of News, Yarona FM.
Thank you very much, Bonolo.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, and definitely a welcome to our Facebook community. A warm welcome to those joining us through our YouTube channel. We are Bonolo Speaks, and thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. Please do subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification bell so you get our notifications. Like Bonolo Speaks Facebook page so you are able to follow the conversations here. Today we have yet another interesting topic. Another interesting topic, and we are going to look at the World Happiness Report of 2021. We'll look at what it says about Botswana. But what will be very important for us today is to really say what are Botswana unhappy about, if they are indeed unhappy. And I did talk to a lot of people from yesterday, just asking people what makes them unhappy, where they are, and I will be sharing those so that we are able to consider, people's thoughts. It's very, very important to know what makes people unhappy where they are. All right, Queen Thuso, the ninth World Happiness Report is out, the report of 2021, and Botswana is down there, fourth from the bottom. But I should definitely say this or share this, that this report, they indicated in the first pages that it's a report written by a group of independent experts acting in their personal capacity. So it does not represent any organization, any agency, any government, or the UN. So that's the disclaimer right there. We should mention this up front. But the essence of this research is to invite governments to give more importance to happiness and well-being in determining, in how to determine, and measure social and economic development. This is the whole reason why they conduct this research. So, yeah, according to this one, we were down there as number 4. There are actually 149 countries in that report. Down at number 149 is Afghanistan, and then Zimbabwe at 148, then Rwanda at 147, Botswana at 146. Leading the pack is Finland, number 1, Denmark, number 2, Switzerland, number 3, Iceland, number 4. The list goes on and on, but those are the 4 leading countries. So I'll just share the 4 because we are 4 from down. So maybe we could learn something from these 4 countries. And so I'll be happy to really engage you on the issue of Rwanda, because Rwanda has been coming up. It's a shining example of developments. We've seen Rwanda really grow economically. It's surprising that the World Happiness Report would rate them this low, but that's one of the things that I would love for us to look at. Now, according to this report, they derive the results from about 7 factors. The first one being GDP per capita, social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom to make choices, generosity, perception of corruption, and dystopia, which is a great state of suffering and injustice by the people. So those are the seven factors that they look at as they assess our nations. The question is, are we an unhappy nation? Why are we unhappy? What can be done and by who to achieve reasonable levels of happiness? These are the questions. So from yesterday, I've been engaging people, asking people whether or not they are unhappy, whether or not they agree to this report. And I must say, I had about 150 responses, and all of them said, yes, we are an unhappy nation. And there were some issues that they forwarded as their reasons. And Thuso and Queen, I would really want for us to look at issues of social support, health and wellness, corruption, politics and governance, and definitely COVID-19. I want to, for us, before we go into it, I want to just share briefly some of the responses. Some people said, I'm not happy as a Botswana because of the tax invasion in this country. I walk into a store owned by a foreign national. They don't swipe. They don't have a point of sale because definitely they are invading tax. They're avoiding paper trail. Some people said, I am not happy about this. Some people said, I'm unhappy about corruption in this country, citing examples of high-profile cases by the DCEC and all that, causing all sorts of noise that, there are corruption cases, and before you know it, it's all gone. And somebody actually said, something will then come up. Something will then come up, we'll be so distracted, and we divert and we lose track of the case up until later we hear that people are acquitted or discharged, or they were never ever wrong and they are suing government. Some people said there are no opportunities in our country. We hear of these opportunities. And one person in particular, whom I asked her, have you ever followed through and went to submit your proposals and everything, because she was talking about SEDA. And she said, I did the needful, and I was more than disappointed. I regret starting that process. It was tedious, and for me to fail later, it was very, very painful. Somebody else shared, putting it as simple like that, I'm not able to make money in my country. It seems as though there are people who would make money and not everybody else would make money. Some people raised issues of unemployment. So, somebody said, I'm not happy because we continue to vote the BDP. People just being plain honest with that. So, Queen Kariso, sorry, Thuso, sorry about that. There is the report, there is the view, Batswana. What's your take on this? Thuso, let me start with you.
From the 7 points that you spoke about, I think the one that could be making us to score lowly, it is the one that talks about corruption perception. Because as you have rightly said in one of the comments, or some of the people that you spoke to, is that corrupt perception about corruption in this country is very rampant. Everybody talks about it, from the smallest corrupt practice that can be done by a public officer to the highest, going to as far as the ministers, directors, Yarona. But in terms of the other 6 points that we spoke about, I think Botswana must be scoring highly as compared to other countries, especially those from the region, Rwanda, South Africa, Zimbabwe. You look at our GDP, is better than most of those countries that have scored lowly as compared to us. And when you talk about conflict, you talk about countries like Rwanda, Zimbabwe, those are some of the countries that are not really stable. You look at Zimbabwe politically, it's not stable. You look at Rwanda, you spoke about the development taking place in Rwanda. I've always argued that what we get from Rwanda is a picture of the capital city. It's as much as when you talk to me and say South Africa is doing quite well, and you show me Johannesburg, you show me Cape Town, Durban, and Pretoria, and Bloemfontein, for instance, but you can never take me to other places like Mafike, Mpolokwane, or the villages within South Africa. And everybody just knows about those 5 cities in South Africa. So still with Rwanda, all what we have been sold is the capital city. But when you go to the rural areas, they are a bit, as in terms of development, if you look at a village in Botswana and compared with a village in Rwanda, you realize that in terms of development, we're doing far much better. But I think what's killing us is issues like corruption, that we will have these corrupt cases going into the courts, and most of them, they are never decided on. We can give the recent cases, the 100 billion that went missing. We are still in the dark about what really happened about the 100 million that is alleged to have disappeared from government coffers. So for me, I think that's what could be making us to score lowly compared to the other 6 points that they are looking at.
Right. Queen, what's your take, Ma?
I think what Thuso has said, it's basically what I also have in mind. And as he was speaking, I was also asking myself, but why are we unhappy? Am I unhappy, to start with, before I can go to other people? And Thuso spoke again of Rwanda, for example, and the capital city that of sin. The question then would be, all these developments, where be it Rwanda or here, are they being done at the expense of our unhappiness as a nation, if there is that? Because I think most of the time we tend to prioritize certain things over others and forget really to look at just that, while we may have this, we also have the human being and the satisfaction, or at least meeting of the bare minimum of whatever happiness may be. Or are people satisfied with these little things to get them going? But I think the issue of corruption is one of the biggest issues that we have, considering, again, what you talked about, that many a times we find that this high-profile cases, we never know where they go to or the end. And then at the end of it all, as the citizens, like some others have been saying, we then, as the citizen, we get to pay or cushion whatever may have disappeared wherever it would have been. Like in the instance that you've been seeing, I've been engaging some people also just to get the feel of, the recent introduction of the levies, taxes, and all that. And this is exactly what they're saying. Like, I have not had an increment on my salary, for example. And here I am having an increment of this VAT, of this and this and that. And these are some of the things that I think they even take a lot of your time in thinking of them and just trying to better your life, but to where and how, again, issues of health and wellness. I think at this particular time, I don't know, with COVID, it has really thrown us off real altogether. And now with the many other allegations that we're hearing of, that a lot of money has been spent, there isn't accountability on that. And then it also brings in the issue of, okay, if I'm getting this increment, does it mean I'm paying for this while I've not even benefited on this? Why am I paying for something that it's corrupt or it's maladministration of somebody or somewhere, And in times then of the political sphere, I think if you're to go on social media, Bonol and Thuso, you've seen just how people seem angry, how people seem frustrated, how people seem, let down, how people seem, we like some people, they were sold a dummy at one point and they had so much expectation at one point, but they are not getting what they thought, or a betterment of some sort, but it's for them, it's like things are getting worse. And this is what I thought when I saw this, the index that we've dropped. We've dropped from the past years. And what then could be the reasons for this drop? What is happening?
Yeah. I hope that you are able to read the comments. I've seen one comment here, somebody saying electricity gone, and this is what I'm unhappy about right now. And I think a lot of people have been complaining about electricity generally. Quinn, you mentioned, the price increase. I mean, the cost of living having gone so high, especially during COVID-19. During this time, since April last year, we've seen increase of electricity. We've seen price increase of goods and services. And this is one of the things that makes people so unhappy. Thuso, a lot of people believe, COVID-19 really exposed us. What exactly are they talking about? People are saying it exposed our leadership. It has exposed really where we are as a country in terms of really just caring for Botswana out there. Thuso, are you with me?
Yes, I'm there. I just wanted to say, with COVID, as you have rightfully said, as well as what Queen has just said, for me, I think it has just exposed how weak we are in terms of grooming leaders. I personally don't like comparing previous leaders with this one being decisive and another one contemplating if this is the right decision to make or not. I'm going to just give you an example. The AstraZeneca was delivered about a month ago, and we started vaccinating the elderly about 3 weeks ago. This morning, we just learned that, for instance, in my district in Gauteng, the vaccine is finished. So, and we have probably not vaccinated more than 3,000 people. Then what do you say to the 55-year-olds who this morning wanted to go and get inoculated, and they just realized that there's no vaccine, where they are supposed to get the vaccine. So in terms of planning, we seem to be struggling. Our leaders seems to be struggling in terms of planning. Let's also look at the issue of payments during the holidays, where, as Queen has said, if you go to the social media, you realize that people who were coming from other countries, it was very easy for them to come here and go to Kasane without any hurdles. But a citizen cannot go on a holiday simply because the system has been collapsed to deny the locals to travel and relax. One of the things that I also say, I don't think I've been outside Gaborone since last year, the 1st of April. I've been in one place for more than 12 months. And this could also be a challenge because we are used that once in a while would be able to travel to Francistown or Kasane or Mau to try and reflect and also change your scenery. So it's also a challenge. But I've also seen our president, even though I didn't want to talk about him, that he has simply disappeared. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday who is based in Germany, that if you look at our members of parliament, especially ministers, and I think Queen, because she's one of the people who have followed parliament for quite some time, you can never find a minister asking another minister a question. This clearly shows that even policies that are being discussed at cabinet level, our ministers are not paying attention, or they are not even aware that there is a particular policy that is being discussed, and they look shocked when some of these policies are being discussed in parliament. There is an issue on Air Friday in parliament. It was very clear that some ministers were in the dark because they joined the back bench and the opposition bench to try and get clarity. Clearly, the right hand does not know what the left hand is doing. So in terms of the leadership, they are failing to exert authority. This is the direction that we are taking, and I want everybody else to support me in reaching this goal. So these are some of the things that will cause the nation to be unhappy, because it's not clear for it. You know, if you remember, I think sometime in about 2006, former President Festus Mogae took a decision to devalue the pula, and he stood by that decision. Even though Botswana complained that you have made this decision, he stood firm and said, "This is a decision. This is a decision that I'll stand by." If you also look at the decision that he took to focus on fighting HIV/AIDS, when a lot of Botswana were dying, and spend millions of pula in acquiring ARV treatment, it was a decision that he took, and he said, "I will stand by this decision, regardless of what other people are saying." But the current leadership, let's look at the previous president, Ian Kham, when he took a decision that I'm going to increase the alcohol levy by 45%, a lot of people complained, but he said, "I'm going to stand by this decision. Whether Botswana are going to vote me out or not, but I'm standing by this decision." The 2011 public sector strike, he stood by that decision that I'm not going to increase public servant salaries. He stood by that decision and even went further to say, if Botswana do not want me for protecting other Botswana to get services, I'm going to stand by this decision. But what we are currently seeing is that we have a leadership that does not want to take decisive decisions. If the government decides that, you know what, I'm going to abandon building stadiums and roads, but I'm going to acquire the COVID vaccine to ensure that I save the nation, they need to say that. If they decide that Botswana should not travel during holidays, this is a decision that they should make. But they should not go behind Botswana and take a decision. Just be straightforward and say, this is the decision that we are taking. I am protecting you as Botswana. As much as the state of emergency, they should come out very clear. This is why we are taking this decision. Botswana is not the only country in the world that is using the state of emergency to fight COVID. Germany is doing the same thing. We just learned that just yesterday, this morning, England came out of the 3 months long lockdown where movement was restricted completely, even during the festive season. But they did not hide away from that decision. They have now inoculated or vaccinated close to 60% of the nation, and they have fully opened this morning. People are returning to the stadiums by the first week of May. But there is clear communication, and the British are the people from Britain. They understand the decisions that were taken by the leadership, and they decided to adhere to those decisions. Ronapan, we are confused because the information is not coming out clearly.
Yes, Queen, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something. As Thuso is saying, I get a lot of questions. He's talking about that the leadership is not decisive on that on whatever they want to do. And my question is, and I've been having this, are they, and the issue of them not knowing exactly what is happening, is it that they don't know what is happening, or they just don't care? You know, because I want to believe these are people who live within us. These are our neighbors. These are our brothers. These are our mothers and sisters. You know, they are well aware of what is happening. Now, the issue then is it Botswana being taken for granted? Do they just don't care, or they're not aware of what is happening? And that keeps us then guessing. That keeps Botswana guessing of, okay, fine, issues are not, permits are not issued. Or what does this mean? Are we on some silent lockdown? I had plans for Yamragain because I've not seen Mudisa the past 3 months, but this time around, I wanted to go to Moraka so that I can see my depots and I can see Mudisa and really see how things are going. And I think it's painful. I mean, nothing beautiful will come out of this. But above everything, we have a Mosarwe that we are fighting. But can we be honest with each other? Can we be honest with the decisions then that we are making, so that I plan, so that you plan, you know better what then to do? But this thing of, I don't know what they're hiding from, or why the leadership cannot really takes we are going to do. Like you said, like what the former president did. What is that? Why do we have that guessing game? Why should you always be guessing? Why should you always be curious of what then will happen? I mean, a lot of people were, I think they had given up that permits will not be issued. But some were hopeful because no communication was given, up until 2 days or 3 days. Was it 2 days or 3 days before the holidays that the system was down? And that throws everybody off rail. It throws you off everything that you had planned. It just messes up your mind, your everything.
Yeah.
And the issue of COVID, as rightfully said, it really exposed us. And I got reminded of an interview that I once had with the Minister of Basic Education sometimes last year when the COVID was starting. That is Ramalau. And we were talking about preparation hella in schools and that. And he said, no, we're making, even the toilets, and I said, did we have to wait for COVID for the toilet to go to the block? Did we have to come to this point to know that we cannot have the toilets and it's easy to unblock those toilets? Certain things don't need a pandemic like this or some disaster to happen. I think issues of priority. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to keep sharing, the messages as they came in, as you raise the issues. And there was a whole lot of talk about, the current government, especially during this time of the pandemic. And somebody raised an issue of how surprising it is for, PDP ministers and to agree on everything. People were saying, we feel that we are really being taken for granted. You watch Parliament, they will agree on something. It doesn't matter how it affects us. If they agree on it, they all agree on it, and they will vote in favor of whatever it is. So I had people who said, how are we to have confidence in these people who are representing us? That's number one. Somebody also talked about how he thinks that the president is not consistent in what he says to the public. And they cited an example of how he would say something and deny it. Wouldn't matter if you bring out those clips when a Queen Thuso from your archives and play them side by side, he would deny it. And people are saying this, we don't know what to believe anymore. We don't know what to believe anymore. Is it normal, Thuso, for members of parliament from the one side to agree 100% on something? Is it normal?
I think from my experience from covering parliament over the years, it is normal. It is normal because parliament, members of parliament from both sides, they've got what they call a caucus. Then it's just like when you go into a football match, then you position your players that this is your role during this debate, and this is your role, and this is the ultimate goal. This is what we want to achieve. But unfortunately, in this parliament, especially from the ruling side or from the right side of parliament, is that they do not have good debaters, unfortunately, and this is what we have seen. As compared to the parliaments that have been from the Magai era, the last term of parliament, Yaga Magai, which I covered, I've seen robust debates, even though the ruling party will vote with what they believe is right for the nation, but they will debate issues. They will debate issues, and this will, even if this will not leave a lot of Batswana confused. During the Khama administration, we also saw the rise of members of parliament who were able to debate issues, even from the backbench. Even ministers, actually, they used to debate issues in parliament and were able to convince even the opposition, especially on some of the decisions that they would take. Then when it came to voting, then it was freely. You might find two members of parliament from BDP voting with those from opposition. I still remember there was a time Yabo Rekha Buroni, who was a BNF member of parliament, who voted with BDP. And this was normal because it depended on the people that we had in parliament who were able to debate issues, and Ronarele Batswana or Rele Bathopi, we were able to decide. Unfortunately, like I'm saying, I know a lot of people talk about Rele Solo, he's a good debater. I still think he simply reads a script that is given. He does not debate issues. And the moment when he can come out of his shells and start to debate issues, maybe Rita Mudumela, but in terms of what BDP has, unfortunately, they do not have debaters. But I have seen actually the finance minister, Hao Kamulebelela, he's someone who's very accommodating. Suggestions from the other side of parliament, he does take them. He does admit in parliament, but unfortunately from other ministers, we don't get that. The backbencher BDP simply listens to what the ministers are saying along that narrow path, but unfortunately it doesn't show. Unfortunately, our parliament is very weak. This I would like to say.
All right, let's go for a quick break. We'll come back after this.
Life Skills Academy is an institution that offers coaching programs for children of ages 6 to 16 years. Now, there are life skills a child should learn by the age of 8 years. If not, the child may struggle as a teenager or adult. So give your child a lifetime gift by enrolling them for emotional intelligence, financial intelligence, and other life skills needed in the 21st century. For more information, call us on 7162-9362 or visit our Facebook page, Life Skills Academy.
Right, welcome back. Yeah, we are here really dissecting issues of unhappiness in our country, what the problem is, why are we unhappy as a nation, what can be done, and where are we, as a nation during this time of COVID-19. Do you feel secure? Do you feel protected? Are you confident in your government? Are you confident in your Ministry of Health? Are you confident? Do you have that confidence in your task team and so forth? So, Queen, there's been talk around how we want to focus on things that are really beyond our control, and the responses I got since yesterday, a whole lot of people were complaining about the government. And that's why I brought in yourself and Thuso, because I know you are following Parliament. I don't talk politics. So I knew he would rescue me on this one. Is it unreasonable to complain or be unhappy about the government? Is it something that is beyond your control as Botswana?
There's no how that cannot be beyond my control. When I voted, I voted this government into power, or whichever government. I mean, we've always had the BDP. So the BDP was brought into power by Botswana. So power and control lies with Botswana, and we all know what the hell guy. It's just unfortunate that we do these things and we are promised all these things through the manifestos and all that and all the good things that we want to hear and all the promises. Come after elections, here we are. How many things were we promised? How many have been implemented now? So we're talking about the media practitioners bill. Where is it? There are a whole lot of other issues that were promised to an unemployed Botswana. We're going to create jobs. Jiki, no creation of jobs. Government doesn't want to create jobs or whatever that was said. So the other frustration comes from this. When you are promised, you have expectation of this promise. Now here we find ourselves of this expectation, this promise, this expectation, which unfortunately does not even have a time frame. So you keep on waiting. But going back to your question, or maybe just to go also on that, I believe the power lies within me. I believe the power lies within me for 5 years, and not that 6 months or 12 months prior to general elections that all the goody things will come to me, and then I'll forget about the rest 4 years. And this is the mistake that we make as Batswana. We'll have this 5 years, and then you know how difficult or the first 3 years will be, with all the promises, with all the manifestos. I'm pretty sure a lot of even the members of parliament and ministers forgot what the manifestos, their party manifestos were, because I'm yet to see who is living that whatever promise was to Botswana at the time. So these are some of the things that add to the frustration. These are some of the things that add to the unhappiness that we find ourselves in. As a young Botswana, where would I want to be at this particular time? Am I even that? These are the questions that go in in your mind. But like I'm saying, I hear you saying I follow parliament. I'm going to be honest with you. I no longer do that. I only get to do that a little time simply because now I have to come up with a topic for my Sunday, because I get frustrated, because I can't get much of substance, from the debaters that we have. I need to speak to a Motswana. I need to have a message to a Motswana who is listening. We're talking about job creation, right? Right now, what is it that we are talking about at this moment in Parliament that will rescue Motswana, that will speak to Motswana, that will give Motswana hope and also be executed? What is it that we promised Botswana that we are not now acting on? Forget about that. Then COVID came. COVID came. Shouldn't you maybe learn how to live with COVID? Shouldn't you have a plan by now? It's more than a year. Shouldn't we have a plan on how we have to at least go 2 steps or even a step to normality? These are the kind of hope, the kind of questions, the kind of answers, the kind of hope then that Botswana should be given. A lot of Botswana are hopeless as it is. Just yesterday on my show, we were talking about the psychological effects, both short-term and long-term psychological effects of this restricted movement. Just yesterday on Sunday, that while we do have this curfew, 1 minute is you're from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. The next minute is from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. You want to go to Maraka, you want to go see Masika because the last time you were there, if you were able to, was Christmas, and you're hopeful that will go Easter. Doesn't this have any psychological effects? This is what we're talking about. Because beyond the developments, beyond all this, beyond all the goody talks, there is a person that will make use of the developments. There is a person who has to leave. There is a person who has, talk about health, So how do these things affect us? I was hoping that these are the things that in all this doing, in all these decisions that are made in effort to contain or reduce the spread of COVID will be taken into consideration. And maybe strike a balance somewhere. It may be not just a 50-50 thing, but at least it's something. But when you sit down and really think, and then you wonder, no, there really isn't much. There really isn't much. We're talking about the high unemployment rate. Where are we now? With regards to that? Yeah. So even these decisions, because all the time people talk that, according to evidence that has been given to HE, now the COVID, the curfew times will be reduced. What is this evidence? Should it maybe appreciate so that we have an understanding of this? I think if we take Botswana in, and I'm not saying we should be told everything, no, but this is for government to know and decide for us. Kimuhir, that top. I mean, when all is said and done, Kimuhir, that top. But am I, or is this what I voted for? Leha and ask some people, be it in the opposition or the ruling party, and ask them, whatever you stood for 2019, can you still stand by what you stood for in 2019? Even in the ruling party, they will tell, no, this is not what I thought would happen. This is not what I voted for. You see, and that speaks to the frustration. That speaks to the unhappiness. That speaks to lack of commitment. We've spoken a lot of times, and we've asked a lot of times about having time frames, but because when we have such situations, you cannot even hold anybody accountable for anything. Accountable for what?
Yeah. Thuso, there is so much speculation. Why is there so much speculation? Let me give you an example. Today, curfew times changed. Immediately there's a message making rounds that, oh, the times have changed because Ramadan starts tomorrow. What is this?
Yeah, it's shocking. But I would like to start with something that Queen said about voting and stuff like that. You know, you can read all the manifestos that you want from all parties. Those are just lies. We need to be honest to ourselves as Batswana, and we need to be honest to the voters. It's not politicians who decide where this country is going to. The technocrats are the ones who decide where this country is going to. So what we need to do as Botswana is to familiarize ourselves with the National Development Plan, because the National Development Plan will tell you if there is an opportunity for job creation or not. It's a 6-year plan. We are in the middle of it, and it's going to tell you if there's going to be a stadium that is going to be built in Muchudi or not. It's going to tell you if there's going to be a hospital that is going to be built in Muchudi or not. But when they campaign and bring these manifestos, you should tell them that I'm looking at the National Development Plan. How are you going to change it? Because government has provided a budget of this much for the next six years. So if you are saying you're going to build a stadium in Muchudi, where are you going to get those funds? But unfortunately, because we don't read and we don't familiarize ourselves with what the technocrats are deciding on our behalf as Botswana, this is where we are losing it. So now I will urge Botswana to familiarize themselves with the National Development Plan, because that's where the opportunities are. That's not true, because the job that you can get is when you look at the National Development Plan, because it's going to give you the direction. The manifestos, but I think that the most painful thing, Bonol and Queen, is that we do not have a proper communication system that has been set up within government. I've received calls yesterday when I spoke about this on my social media page. Our public relations officers within government are not doing their job. The reason why we are still confused about the state of emergency, like I've said, the curfew times, as Queen has said, and many other things surrounding the COVID. Like I was saying, the vaccines are completed in some of the areas, but there's no clear communication. Okay, let me applaud them that yesterday they acted promptly to announce and we did not speculate on this, and they acted promptly to even investigate why those people died after taking the COVID vaccine. But we need public relations officers by where they can stand and defend government. I'm going to give a clear example here how a public relations officer works. I remember Duma wanted to take another wife. It was during the festive holidays. His public relations officer or spokesperson was holidaying in Cape Town. Duma was somewhere in Gandla with the process was ongoing. Radio stations called the spokesperson to ask him if the president was going to get married. He did not say yes or no. He simply said, I've not spoken to the president. I will speak to him, then I'll give you a response in the afternoon. And he continued to engage the president. In the afternoon, he came up with an answer. Yes, it's true. The president this morning went to this particular family, Abansa Lobola, and he's getting married. So it doesn't help for our public relations officers to be denying, and Kamuso Minister Abare, indeed, this is true. So unfortunately, they need to also work on their communication system by bansa information. Let me give you another example. Where Dan Kinosi goes out, he's a friend of mine, and says ministers were resigning, there was a meeting, Go State House. Whether the meeting took place or not, there is no need for them to deny. They should simply say, no, but the meeting took place, but it was not about resignation of ministers. We were concerned. One of the things that they knew, or if lady curfew times were going to be reviewed, they could say, we were busy discussing, should we review the curfew or not? And we simply shut down Dan Kinosi on what he was saying. So our communication from our public relations officers is not good enough, unfortunately. And this is something that they need to work on.
I'm taking a deep breath. Yeah, one other thing. Today I'm representing the people. I'm sharing exactly what they sent through to me, Thuso, Luena Queen. One other thing, going back to the issue that there is no truth by the state president. One other thing, somebody was talking to me about Steve Harvey opening, film industry opportunities for Batswana in the USA, and she was asking her, who is Steve Harvey? What opportunities can he, open for Batswana when he himself lost his job, his show that really made him popular? He was fired, and you are saying he's going to open opportunities for us. Bring a guy like Tyler Perry, then we can begin to talk. These things, Thuso, should we be concerned that there will be issues like this and they are actually not true?
Let me be the devil's advocate on this one. I think the president, having engaged him on a number of occasions, he seems to be candid. But he also has his own shortcomings. One of those that I'll share is how he quickly dismissed experienced civil servants, especially permanent secretaries, who could actually give him direction when he needs it. Because he came in and came with an inexperienced cabinet that needed a very strong permanent secretaries who would give him direction. He wouldn't be making a lot of these mistakes that he's currently making. Unfortunately, on this one, for instance, the former PSP, if they were still there, they would be able to call him to the side and say, President, I don't think this is the right direction to take. But if you come in with an inexperienced cabinet, as well as permanent secretaries who do not have experience, you are likely to struggle as we see him struggling. But in terms of the promises that he makes, I'm still not sure how those promises that he made, how has COVID really affected some of his roadmap? But at times I do feel sorry for him, or maybe COVID has actually affected a lot of plans that he had. I just hope by the end of this year, because I think during even COVID, if he came out clearly and spoke to us more often, we would be trusting him. But unfortunately, he has left a lot of work to ministers. He seems to be, I remember they used to say Mosarwe was the missing president. He seems to be taking that posture where he's delegating a lot of work to his ministers. And unfortunately, Batswana But this is normal because we live in a global village. You know, in South Africa, we see the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, coming out and addressing the nation on monthly basis. We have seen during the 2011, the September 2011 attacks, the September 11, 2001, when the Americans were being bombed. You know what? In every American's mind, every citizen of America was, is our president safe? And this is how because the president at the time, so the Americans will protect the president. They will die for that president. Because President always they see the president present in every situation they go through. So even this time, if the president was visible, where are the jobs? Unfortunately, we are not sure of the direction. You can talk about the Mutusi. Or Mutusi, he promised us a lot of things, but he has disappeared and the president has disappeared. And that's why we're disgruntled. We know what the president is very passionate about the creative industry. We know he's passionate about it. We know he had a plan for it, but unfortunately, he has gone missing. And that's why the sector is also frustrated. They almost revolted against him towards the festive season. And it's because he's missing. He needs to be visible. He needs to be present in the lives of Batswana.
Wow. Right. I think as we are about to run out of time, it's maybe time for us to maybe look at what we can do as people. We will definitely, experience distance. We'll have a
Bunala, I don't know. Should I wrap up the show now? They've all left me. Okay. Okay, you're back.
I'm back. I have no idea what happened.
I saw Thuso first, then you followed like, okay.
How do you guys kick me out of my show?
Who kicked you out?
You left. You left. I was left alone.
Something sneaky happened, I tell you.
No, but I didn't.
Anyway,
I just forget something and it just disappeared.
Anyway, what can people do? What can people do? I want to read a comment here by Hilda. We are definitely not going to get any counseling from these people. These are journalists. We're not going to get, deal with your emotions, toughen up. Life is going to throw things to you. And, you saw how Thuso responded to the issue of whether or not issues of, government are, beyond people's control. Actually, it was Queen to say, as a voter, you have hired your MP, you've hired the government. So we're not going to get that side of things. But I like what Hilda said here, saying, you see, we tend to dwell a lot on things that we cannot control. As a result, we get frustrated, disappointed, and a lot of negatives. Happiness is a choice. The world will keep throwing solid punches to the question. So the question is, how do we react? I totally agree. I mean, that's me right there to say, look, things will happen, but really, one needs to protect themselves. You can manage yourself. You may not be able to manage other people, but you can manage yourself. I understand that very well, and I totally agree with that. However, Thuso, you've already said, read and read and read. Familiarize yourselves with what is happening in government. What else is out there for us as people, as voters? What can we do? And honestly, a lot of issues that were raised were really around, government, Ministry of Health, COVID-19 issues, price increases, lack of opportunities, and all that. What else is there for an ordinary Botswana to do?
We are in a very difficult phase because what we are going through as a nation, it's not only peculiar to us. Like I'm saying, I talk to friends all over the world. Germany, for instance, they've rolled out the vaccine. They've vaccinated 70% of their population, but the cases are going up in that country. They're actually, as from this morning, going into a 3 weeks long lockdown. Industries are also shutting down in that country. Just the same thing that you see in this country, it's happening in Germany. But they're supposed to have elections, and it's a tricky one because they have these lockdowns that are coming up now and then. So opportunities are very limited everywhere. But COVID, as bad as it is, it has also presented opportunities for a lot of people. There are people who corruptly, but by they've seen an opportunity and explored that opportunity, and they have been able to grow high long. One of the things that we are doing with Bonola, for instance, we are living in the reason why you go to Facebook and see a lot of people ranting and discussing issues. We are in an era where Batswana or the nation or the world over, people just want to consume information. They just want to hear something that's positive. So what you are doing, this is a market where a lot of people across the world are looking for. They just don't want to be hearing so many people are dying. They just want to hear a different narrative being presented to them. And this is an opportunity. And that's why I'm saying opportunities are there. We just need to sit down and look at where are the opportunities. You look at mining, you look at aviation, you look at many other tourism, for instance. Those ones they are not only collapsing in this country, they are collapsing globally. We have seen for the first time, I think, in decades, where we don't see big airlines landing over Tambo, our Cesar at the Kama Airport, and stuff like that, because all industries have been affected. We have seen South African Airways collapsing in the last 12 months, and government coming up with plans to say we are selling it. They are not the only ones. We are seeing Boeing 737. Everybody manufacturing, but we are not making money. You can take back your so it's struggling. The economy is struggling just globally. It's not only in this country. But what we need to learn as a nation is that for many years, or since our independence, we have only been groomed. We can only be absorbed by the local job market. We need to start thinking globally. Just get a degree if it's possible. After getting your degree, try and get masters so that you can fly out and work anywhere in the world. I've seen a lot of my friends, the masters, you are wasting your time. Opportunities are local. Most of them, like I'm saying, they've traveled globally: Germany, England, Ireland, South Africa, Australia, and even New Zealand. I've got friends who stay there, and we share a lot of information. So just do your degree as a way of opening opportunities for you, but you can work anywhere in the world. That's where you need to look into.
Right. Queen, your last words. What can we do? What else can we do? Queen, your mic is off. Your mic is off.
Yes, I'm back. I actually wanted to ask Thuso a question that, as you were saying, you seem beautiful stuff there, Thuso, but I'm wondering how many people right now, having seen where we come from, having seen the dependency syndrome that ends in anything, having been failing more job employment simply because our education system, you wait, education system, you wait and then you get employed. I also work with Form 5 leavers, and I usually try to talk to them, just ask, okay, what do you want to do? You have failed, or you have gotten your 36 points. What do you want to do after admission in a tertiary institution? And I'm yet to come to meet a prospective or a student who would say to me, you know what, I'm doing this because I'm thinking of being an entrepreneur in this field. You know what they ask? You know what they ask? Is this job, is this course marketable? After completion of my degree. So there is still that thinking as well. There was when HE was launching those new CEDA guidelines, I passed by CEDA offices, headquarters. You should have seen the queue. We're talking about, I've been reading what Muhumi is saying here, that instead of selling our land, but where is the land? Do we have land? I don't have a residential plot, you see, right now. And for me, residential plot is either I get. But do I have money? Even what more of what more of your cousin Thuso Form 3, for example? You see, we have these opportunities, but my question is accessibility to them. Are they accessible? What do I need for this opportunities? We have friends, but they lost their jobs here. And right now, and they're saying, you know what, I wish I had this amount. I wish I had a land so that I can have the multi-res. And seriously, have you found a plot? I don't have a plot. So to start with. You see, so all these opportunities, they need you to have something to start from or to start with. Unfortunately, for most banana or banana make it better, they don't have a sepe. You see, so I think it's an issue of, like you're saying, but where do we start? Where do you start? And I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. But in terms of my happiness, or adapting to the situation, it lies with me. I was speaking to Dr. Selemo yesterday, still talking about this, like what then should one do with these frustrations and the curfew and the payment? And she said, have an alternative, have a schedule, have a routine. Okay, this is my plan. But if my plan fails, because there are chances that my plan will fail, then this is what will have. Prepare yourself for both situations, and this is where now we find ourselves. But the thing is, okay, I think we are be positive. There's that again, you should always be positive, because if you think of what if then this happens, you turn out to be this negative person who does not see the beauty in things. But let's face reality. We find ourselves in this situation. How then do we move forward? How do I move forward as queen? What do I plan? How do I make myself happy? Other than government, am I empowering a fellow Botswana? Am I buying from Mayorix and the vegetable so that because I have buying power, I can give her something where but I'd rather go away and buy morogo. You see, I think we should introspect as people. We need each other, in all honesty. But mathata a rona ga re batle go thusana gape. Ga re batle go thusana as Batswana. I cannot, why should I give Thuso this? Why should I help Thuso with this? I would rather do this. You see, we should also get rid of these things. We've talked about government, but coming to me, what am I doing? At least trying to be a happy person, despite everything else, despite all the things that are out of my control. But what is in my control? What can I do with that? And that is where I think we should be our starting point as individuals. Moving forward, government may be failing me, but should I just wait for government? How can I get myself up? How can I do this? And or help another person, and really trying to stay sane. Because a lot of these things will really drive you crazy.
Happening. A
lot is happening, but then we also have the inner person to take care of. We also have my mental, my health, and everything. What then can I do as a person? Government, but as a person, how can I help myself? How can I help my sister? How can I help my colleague? Can we have as the Indians, just how they help each other? Can't we have that spirit? Try yeah, that's the right word. I think if we could do that and try to build ourselves, because we are in this situation. How do we move forward? Starting with me. How do I move forward? After 5 years, I hear a parliament, I hear a counseling. And as Thuso rightfully said, the national development plans. You see, but also that also needs some education, needs some awareness. They need to know. We're speaking now to a certain segment of the population.
Right.
What other alternatives or what other options then do we have to those who don't have access to some of the things that we're talking about? So these are some of the things in we should look at. Okay, fine. There is this segment. As a person,
right. Awesome stuff. Yes. And I think another conversation that we really need to have, where are the opportunities? I think we need to sit down and talk about that, to help people really locate these opportunities. I think we need to have that conversation ASAP, because then it would be us throwing that to the people, but people are not. They don't seem to see what you are talking about. So maybe we need to have that conversation very soon. Definitely, Muhumi. Issues of land. I did have a conversation with someone regarding land. Yes, Queen, I know you don't have land. I know many other young people even young adults who still don't have land. But I know of many other people who had land and they sold the land, or the land is sitting there. What are some of the things that we can do out there? Can we maybe sell a portion of it to develop, or maybe trade exchanges of some sort? What is it that I can do with land if I have it? Our parents do have land. They don't use the land anymore. What can we do about that? We definitely have to have such conversations. Somebody talked about managing emotions. That's one topic I'm very, very passionate about. And so for the benefit of those who are here, I'm going to just say, look, you determine what triggers you. Or if you get triggered, you are the person to really manage whatever emotions you triggered. We have negative and positive emotions. During this time, there's a lot of negativity out there. Guard yourself. Guard yourself. One of the simplest things that I always say to people can do is breathing and just focusing on your breathing. Just so you give your mind a break. Just so you give your mind a break. Just focusing on your breathing. Nothing else but your breathing. If you are able to focus on your breathing for 3 minutes, you'll have given your mind 3 minutes break. And that is very, very useful because there is so much happening around us. So how we feel is because we have interpreted something we've seen, touched, or felt. We've interpreted it in a certain way. So we feel in a certain way. As people, as human beings, we are creatures of interpretation. You are going to be interpreting this situation, giving it so many and different interpretations. It's really you who actually say, I am threatened. It's you saying, my government abandoned me. It's you interpreting whatever is happening as that. So you have that power. You may not have control. You may not feel like you have control over what government is doing or COVID-19 and all that, but you at least have the power to give meaning to things. You have the power to interpret situations. You have the power to interpret that thing that you say makes you unhappy right now. But should you be triggered, should you be negatively charged, you need to now have the skill and the technique to ensure that whatever the negativity dissipates. And how you do that is, if you are able to step back, if you are able to breathe just 2 seconds, to breathe and think about how you want to respond to whatever is going on, you definitely respond rather than react. You find yourself reacting most of the time. You act and make decisions in the heat of the moment, and you are one person who might make permanent decisions in the heat of the moment, and you will regret it later on. So let's guard ourselves. I think that's the advice I could give right now. But I will also do my part through this platform to keep bringing that inspiration, bringing these conversations that can, open us up to new opportunities, open up to new ways of thinking. I know we have a whole lot of problems, Queen, including that conditioning that is so deep that we think of employment before anything else. And it's disappointing that even the Form 5 leavers now are still thinking employment when the employment rate is so high. Haven't they heard that we have so many graduates in the streets? All those things. But I know it's a whole lot of issues there. But I will do my part through this channel to really bring positive conversations, where we can really learn and inspire each other. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. I believe that we've said a whole lot of things But at the end of the day, it was really about getting to understand where we are, why we are happy, why we are unhappy, and maybe to also see that we shouldn't be unhappy about a whole lot of stuff. Instead, we should be saying, how can I contribute towards a positive solution, or yeah, something like that. Thank you so much, Thuso. Thank you so much, Queen.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Bonolo, for having me.
Thank you to our viewers here. Thank you for staying up to the end. I'll definitely go through your messages and respond to them. Good evening.